Let's talk about a little about the process, because of course it is a process as we move through something like this. Let's talk first about how you move through designing this. You know, you start with sketches, you show us those, you go to studio fittings.
It's a funny process because it's been such a long process. So you start off, I think the way that we handled it was thinking about the material and really saying, how do we tell the story of Don Giovanni and have someone understand that man now?
I mean, I even think about our first meeting with Frank. I was just kind of like, you know, we went into it so nervous, and I think we're kind of nervous about even, you know, saying too much. We just weren't sure, because I've met at this point, you know, you get to meet a lot of amazing people in terms of different kind of creative mediums, but he's one of the only people that I've really met where I feel like I've met kind of a genius in terms of the way their mind works. In a sense, like right after meeting him, we were very open in our process with him, and I felt like he was one of the most fun people that we've collaborated with in terms of kind of a creative dialogue.
I think that what we did was really sit with the material for a long time. I tried to think about the songs, what they sounded like, who was singing them, you know, the basic outline of who these characters are and how those were divided between class systems and kind of how they're described within the libretto. And then we just started, you know, it took a while, I have to say. Like, we just, you know, were looking at Frank's set, thinking about this idea of it being Don Giovanni's. It's his mind, he's controlling everything, that none of these people exist without him, and vice versa, and them all being trapped in this kind of like world that is dreamlike and semi-abstract. And then one day it clicked, and then we just did a series of sketches. It was that fast, like, because it wasn't that we'd worked very long on the sketches. It just took a long time to really digest the material and think about, what would we do to explain these characters? Like, what would we want to see?
I want to come back and talk about your interaction with the cast, but I also have to let you in on a little secret. I was there the day when you came to meet Frank, and you came out to the studio. We were waiting for you to come. We were so nervous we could barely take it. so everybody, everybody sort of circled, and we all drank Diet Cokes. I remember. Christopher, you were handed a very special challenge as a director, which is to stage a full opera in a highly abstract way. What was the process? How did you move through that process? I mean, that is a real challenge.
I kind of think about opera that way in general anyway, so no one had to force me to think in those terms. As I've directed operas over the years now, I think I've moved more and more in that direction, in a less literal direction, and happy to let go of a lot of the narrative level of storytelling in opera. And I'm interested always in maybe in staging the deeper levels, under the surface levels. That tends to be my approach anyway. So when I got involved in this project, I was so happy to join them on that particular road.
I think one of the things that was important for us was really trying to create costumes that we felt like would help the audience understand the characters and their motivations.
Yeah, I mean, like, did you guys agree on, like, what's the character of Don Giovanni?
We sat together. Yeah, we made a little map. I have my notes. Yeah, I'm gonna save them for a long time. But it's like the characters and then the way we would describe them, you know, and the words like the fanatic. Like, you had to have words that kind of would delineate who was who.
We just kept having discussions over, a period of a few months, and I think what I like about this process is I don't think any of us felt like we had to, pin it down too much or even agree too much. We were all just kind of circling around it, but trying to come to terms with it along similar lines. But I think it's cool just to that it assembled in a sort of a collage-ish kind of way.
Yeah, but you've directed so many operas, and in all kinds of different circumstances. Was this an unusual kind of collaboration? Was it similar? I mean, it started to come together in terms of, the consensus that had to be built, which of course has to happen before any show opens. But is it different from, here are two people who had never worked in opera before. You had never met them. You hadn't worked with an architect, probably.
Right, right. Yeah, sure. No, I mean that was an exciting part of this whole thing. It was a bit different for me. I mean, I was trying to step back maybe from being so much the decider, as I often am in these things, where the director is, and the designers kind of serve that vision to some degree. I was interested in this case very much in Frank and Kate and Laura's visions about this thing, and I was trying to not maybe stop them from letting their creative flow happen. So, and which is a good it's good exercise for me.
Yes, you usually are the decider, I might add.
Yeah.
You were overwhelmed by Rodarte and Gehry.
Yeah, no, not at all.
You weren't overwhelmed.
I was just
but you were part of the team.
I was just trying to stay open to to their to what they were bringing to the table, which I do with any designers I work with. Of course, that's what's exciting is about collaborating with people and putting all these different sensibilities together. You're always going to come up with something so much more interesting than when it's just when it's just your own vision.
Well, thanks for coming in on your day off. So we'll just think good thoughts and say toi 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 for opening night, which is less than 24 hours away now. Thanks a lot, guys.